Welcome to this week's edition of Rugby Unfiltered. I'm your host, Jan de Koning, and with me, as always, Eugene Eloff. Loffie, welcome.
Hi, Jan. Thanks. Yes, a lot of interesting happenings in rugby in the world. So, yes, let's jump into it.
Eugene, I had the privilege, let's call it a privilege. I had the privilege of sitting in on the Cheetahs press conference this week. And the reason why I decided to join them, because I mean it's SA Cup, and we don't give much attention to the SA Cup. The reason why I did that was because the Cheetahs are at the risk for the first time in history of not qualifying for the Currie Cup. It's an unheard thing of, they're sitting fifth in the SA Cup, and they will most likely beat the Border Bulldogs this coming weekend. But after that, they've got a really tough game against Griquas. So there's a challenge for them. Of course, they can win both games. They can get their 10 points. So it was important that we sit in and ask, and I wanted to ask Frans Steyn, which I did, how important is it that they qualify for the Currie Cup, given that there's all these reports that the Cheetahs will get an invite to the URC if Wales reduce their teams to 3. So it's all major developments around the Cheetahs.
Yes, Jan, a lot of it are rumors and hearsay and... But, listening to Frans, I've also had the privilege, to use that word again, of coaching him at the junior box for 2 years. And I could see that Frans was very strict, and you can see they're under pressure. And sometimes when you know like that, he also said it, that they got themselves there, they need to get themselves out. And that's an attitude to have. Sometimes you can only control the controllables. But, Jan, I want to take it further. And I think things in Bloemfontein are not going as it always did. Because if you go look at the Varsity Cup, Shimlas didn't qualify. If you go look at Grey are not having the results they always have. So I don't know if there's a decline of rugby in Bloemfontein. And, we need that province. And I can feel that pain, and knowing that they might lose their jobs. So maybe it's time also for them to go sit and regroup and say, right, where do we start rebuilding? And I remember just when I joined Boland, that's exactly what we did. We tried to rebuild. And the year that we won the First Division Currie Cup, unfortunately, there was not promotion relegation, but that's it. You just adapted that. So, yeah, I feel for the guys. There's a lot of rugby brains coming out of Bloemfontein and the Cheetahs, and we need them. And I hope they get a solution.
Yeah, you touched on it, and Frans made up, and we'll listen to the entire conversation now. But Frans made the point that if they don't qualify for the Currie Cup, there's a realistic chance that they will all lose their jobs. And we know there has been questions raised, and as that happens in Bloemfontein, I mean, we've seen with the previous administration, there's always people that when it doesn't go well, they'll start asking questions. And they said, what about the salaries of the coaches? And we know that they haven't contracted as many people as always, because they had to financially, there's financial constraints, because they had to get some of their supporters and their businesses in Bloemfontein to bail them out. So it is a very tough situation. It's not a big economy. The biggest problem there is Bloemfontein is a very small economy. The Free State is agriculture by and large. Kimberley is even worse, but at least they've got a community there that supports them, and they've got a benefactor that supports them. So I think now's a good time to listen, and people will get a sense of how urgent it is for Cheetahs in the next 2 rounds of the SA Cup.
It's quite easy. If we don't win these 2, then none of us probably is going to have jobs left.
Frans, a lot of reports have come out about the potential of the Cheetahs going to the URC. Have you guys got any news? Can you share anything with us?
Jan, no, I can't. I'm just focused on this SA Cup and the position we find ourselves in. And we need to get out of this. It doesn't even help us looking at the URC if we can't get out of this hole.
Yeah. I understand your cautiousness of looking to other competitions, but not qualifying for the Currie Cup and then suddenly getting an invite, would that be or does this add more pressure to qualify for the Currie Cup?
No, not really. I think we've been playing since December, the guys, so we've been working hard all year round. So look, what must happen at the end must happen. I don't have any say in that. I don't have any say in who or how the Cheetahs gets into which competition. All I can say is the Greek was 3 or 4 years ago was also at a stage, and we're trying to build a place. We're trying to do our best every day, and yeah, we keep on fighting every day.
Yeah. If you have to look at specific areas or a specific area of your game that needs to improve, that will give you those 2 vital wins at the end of the season, what would that be?
Yeah, I think playing for 80 minutes. I think we need 2 weeks of 80 or 90-minute performances. That's the biggest thing. I think our first half against Falco was good. Our second half, our comeback against SWD was good. Second half against Griffins was good. So we need an 80-minute performance.
Yeah. The inconsistency, for a lack of a better word, the fact that you can't play a full 80 minutes, is that something to do with experience, given the general age of your squad, or is it just something that happens?
I think myself, Tiaan, and Ruan looked at, and our conditioning coach looked at everything we do during the week, and we're trying to find the best way to fix it. It comes down to us planning and getting the guys right for the weekend. It's definitely not what we expected. Look, we need to look at ourselves, coaches wise, and the planning. It felt to me like we ran out of legs in the second half. So what we do during the weeks, how we do it, we need to find the best way to give us the most or the best possible chance for the next 2 weeks. So we need to be positive, and like I said, we need to control what we can. We come in every day, work hard, do our best, and yeah, we're gonna go down. If it doesn't work out, then we know we gave everything to this place. And those guys, all of the guys, the players, the coaches, everybody working here, we gonna do our best for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. Look, for us, we need to win too. That's the end of it all. We need to win. Questioning the guys' commitment to this place. I think the week before that, they put up a massive shift against SWD. So coming back from that 10-point deficit, especially there, that field was horrible. The bus rides and everything. Coming back from there, it was a massive shift. So we as coaches, it's our job to fix this, and we will fix this. We're not the refs, and I feel sorry for the refs because I think the SA Cup in South Africa is the biggest competition that there is for actually everybody that is not in the URC. I mean, if you don't qualify, you screwed.
Okay, yes. So Ken, just listening to Frans, I think what needs to happen there is they need to go sit and do a strategic planning session and involve all the role players in terms of their sponsors, people that could, because Bloemfontein is also a rugby community, just like in Kimberley, and they could turn that around. I'm sure Frans and Ron and the guys can also turn it around in Bloemfontein. I really hope they do. But let's move on. URC this weekend just passed. The Bulls winning the Scarlets, and I think that was too close for home, but a win is a win. They played away, 23-21. I think the big surprise, Jan, of the weekend, which also brought us the line into a better position, is Benetton beating Leinster. That was a big surprise, 29-26, and nobody would predict that. I think most guys with their Super Blue were out of it there. And then, of course, the Lions are still keeping on with their winning ways, 33-4 against Connacht. I can't remember the score, but it was the Lions at 33. So they are on a roll, and their test is coming now. And And then if we look at the Stormers, Dobbo's got it right to give them, they got their momentum again. And this is what they should build on. You can see Glasgow was flat. They were absolutely flat. And what I like about Franco, he doesn't look for excuses. He took it on the chin and that's it. And they're carrying on. Let's hope the South African teams that are through can take it through. That brings me to the Sharks that I feel for not qualifying. I'm worried if I read in the media and the papers that they're looking at James O'Connell, ex-Aussie, as a fly-off, bringing him in. I think then we're doing something. And then losing a guy like that youngster going to the Bulls now, which I think was the next generation, great Gilumia fly-off. So, but we sitting here never know what goes on in the boardrooms and what their strategic thinking is behind contracting players. But everything I'm talking now about is what I read in the media, Jan.
Eugene, it's quite important that we look forward. I mean, it was a very big weekend for the Stormers, who's now top of the standings, the Lions, like you said, and then the Bulls also came back from their tour. So let's start at the bottom. Bulls moved into 7th place, and they play the two Italian teams, Benetton and Treviso, in the next 2 weeks. Well, everybody's going to break this weekend because European Cup or European semi-finals. So there's no South African teams involved. But the following weekend, then the 8th and 9th of May, then the Bulls are playing at home. And then they've got the two Italian teams on consecutive weekends. So they can move into 4th place even in the top 4 if they win and some of the other results goes in their favor. You know, I mean, Glasgow, like you said, is struggling. They're off still top 4th, but I think they're struggling. Franco probably can get them. You know, they also got a week off this week. They're back at home, so they should be fine. And I'm sure. And then the other issue is teams like Leinster and them are playing this weekend. And they in the semi-final, so they might have to rest their players the next week, or they might have injuries. So who knows what type of team Leinster fields when it resumes. So we've got the Lions, who's moved up to 3rd, play Leinster and then Munster. So it's a very tough tour for the Lions, a vital tour for the Lions. They need about 2 points, maybe 1 win to secure a top 8 finish. But I would think they've already achieved more than we expected. I mean, and I will say it again, my apologies to Ivan van Rooyen. I know I was harsh on him, but it's at a time when they weren't performing very well. So I say to Ivan and his team, well done. They've got it together. 6 wins in a row. That's massive. It's the most URC wins in a row they've ever had. And they've got a chance of finishing in the top 3, top 2, even if the results go their way. So let's see how things go. And then, yeah, I mean, like we say, Glasgow, they are still sitting 2nd, given Leinster's loss. But will they have enough in the tank, or will they revive themselves? And then the Stormers, who play Ulster away, and then Cardiff in the final round. And those are on 4G pitches. So the challenge for the Stormers is not so much whether they can beat these teams. They've got the quality. They showed they got the quality. I mean, the way they dismantled Glasgow shows they've got the quality. But they don't enjoy playing on the 4G pitches, and they're quite open about it, that 4G pitches are dangerous. And we've seen some weird injuries on 4G pitches, you know. Apart from the carpet burns or grass burns or whatever you want to call it, people get things like turf toe. When people don't understand what's turf toe, is when your studs get stuck in the turf and your toe bends so badly that it's like a fracture of the toe, and it's very painful, and that takes very long because it's a part of the body that's always under pressure. So that takes a long time to heal. So that's why Salman Murat has been out all this time and it's called turf toe, but it's the same as a foot fracture, a minor foot fracture, and it takes time to heal. So that's a challenge for the Stormers playing those 2 games on 4G pitches.
Yeah, Jan, I think any team will just be happy to be in a playoff or to still play and be competitive. So what happens between those 4 lines is what's important, not the surface and the weather and so on. you need to go play. But I just want to stop before we carry on. I think it's time we've been hard because we both are very staunch Lions supporters. But I think maybe it's also good now to give credit to Neville Jardine, the president, and to Roelof and Altman that's actually stuck to those guys through difficult times. And the most important is for the team now is to carry on doing what they're doing and keep that. They've actually got a wonderful vibe out there. But Jan, we cannot finish this program today without talking schools rugby. After the Noordside, after the weekends had, and after the Wille Klaver. And I just want to end off to say, and it sounds like I'm repeating myself, we got incredible good school sides. And the margins between the so-called smaller schools and the big schools are getting less and less. And I mean, the final Boys Eye and Office was won by Office in the last minute of the game, just by a scrum. And I want to give credit to all the schools coaches. You can see those teams are really well coached. And the other side of the coin is there's a lot of criticism going on social media, LinkedIn, everything about, and what we discussed a few weeks ago was the health of the players because of injuries. And we mostly referred to concussion. But now there's also headmasters and there's guys that are pretty high up in the schools organization saying, but listen, we've lost the plot at schools level. It's become a business. It's not the fun enjoyment and so on. And it's only rugby at school, not the other sports. So maybe that will be an interesting angle for us to go look at whether it's worthwhile or they got a point saying, listen, but only rugby gets mentioned, not the hockey and the netball and so on. And that's probably they got a point. And maybe that's something that we can research on. But schools rugby in South Africa is so healthy.
Eugene, I agree with you. We all look at the first teams and how they play, and we all hang our hat on those results. So yeah, maybe there is a flip side to this coin, and I think it's worth investigating it again. I mean, we've had the doc on before. Maybe we can get somebody on again, somebody different, or doc again, and put this viewpoint of Scuba, and maybe get somebody like Jake White who's had a clash with. I don't know if he'll speak out or whether he's willing to go public, but if we can get him, he's had this public encounter with a headmaster and their difference of opinion. So maybe that is, and I agree with you, maybe we can do that for next week.
Great.
Well, that's it here from us, from myself, Jan de Koning.
Yes, Jan, thanks, man. Let's keep on supporting our schools, our provinces, and SA Rugby. We're really in a good place. And we actually forgot the under-20s, the competition in PE, where we gave the Pumas a good lesson. We played so well, and our test will be Sunday, I think, when we play Australia, because they and New Zealand were very close, met up. I think Australia was very unlucky not to win that game. So my goodbye is let's support the junior bokkies as well.
Eugene, agree with you 100%. Next week we'll chat under-20 rugby, and we'll bring a good wrap of the tournament and see who's playing or how it stands. So until next week from myself, cheers.